Hi again. Today I want to share something very interesting which I found out recently, and that's why I'm here on my computer so that I can show you some numbers. So, as part of our transition to this off-grid life, which we will do soon, we've been thinking a lot of how to, um, make our house, our future house, be as efficient as possible, energetically speaking. Now, when you're with an off-grid system of solar photovoltaic panels, usually rule number one is reduce your consumption. Before even thinking about anything else, try to reduce your consumption as much as possible so that you need less panels, less batteries, and you have less hassle. And of course, I think from an environmental standpoint is also very good because you're reducing your demands, your need for energy. So we've been doing that, and because we are trying to calculate the best size for our off-grid system, especially the panels and the battery bank, I've used a very important tool called a watt meter to start, diagnosing how much power we use in this house in a typical day, and how much each appliance, each thing that we plug in, big or small, utilizes in one day in 24 hours. And then from there, trying to calculate our average in winter, in summer, and see how much we can survive with. So I've been taking a lot of notes, and there was two things that was very interesting that I found out. One was the washing machine. My washing machine is quite a modern one, maybe 4 years old, and good brand, Samsung. It's quite power saving. I mean, you can do a load with, I can tell you, where is it? About 200 watts, or 200 watts. So one thing I figured out was that in the energy labels that these machines have, especially here in Europe, every appliance needs to have this energy label, which tells us our average consumption in a year. I don't think they are accounting to this average power consumption the phantom load. These phantom loads are extremely important, and usually people know about these phantom loads in things like television, set-top boxes, stuff like that, which you kind of press the button to put it on a idle mode, standby mode, and then it consumes residual power. Now what I realized was a standard washing machine cycle took 200 watts to complete. Cold washing machine cycle. But then as I was almost unplugging my watt meter, I realized that the machine was consuming about 15 watts. And I thought, well, maybe this is just some kind of standby mode because the machine is still on and there are some LED lights in the display. So I pressed the power button to put it off. And the machine was still consuming 15 watts. And I thought, okay, maybe this is still some kind of, maybe the machine is still doing something after finishing the cycle. So I left it, and I left my watt meter plugged on. I came back after an hour, the machine is totally off, there's no more buttons to press, and it's still consuming 15 watts. And this puzzled me a lot. Why is this machine, which is off and doesn't have any kind of remote, no wireless connection or anything, it's consuming 15 watts permanently? Then as I started doing the same with other machines, I realized that this was not the only case. I have a kind of, I don't know what you call it, like a kitchen robot, which does blending and cooking and everything at the same time. And after using it, it auto shuts off after some maybe 30 seconds of nobody interacting with the machine. It shuts off, it's completely off, there's no more buttons to press, and again, 15 watts. Now these two machines, the washing machine and the kitchen robot, I use almost daily, if not daily. So they are permanently plugged into the socket because I don't want to be plugging in and out every time. So they are consuming 15 watts each every 24 hours. Now let's do some calculations here because this is very interesting. 15 watts for the washing machine times 24 hours, it's 360 watts. Now if you are living in an apartment in a normal house, you're connected to the grid, 360 watts a day is peanuts, I know. But when you're in an off-grid setting, 360 watts is almost half a kilowatt. And you're not even using the machine. This is absolutely crazy. Now, 15 watts from the washing machine plus 15 watts from the kitchen robot is 13 watts. 30 watts. Times 24 hours, that gives us 720 watts. Close to 1 kilowatt. Now I started adding up all these things. And I realized that most people are not aware that we have a lot of phantom loads that are not clearly stated in the appliances manuals or in these energy labels. They are not shown anywhere. And so people don't know. They just plug in, everything is off, it's fine. No, it's consuming. Like the washing machine by itself, and I did this calculation, it's interesting. The washing machine, 15 watts times 24 hours times 30 days a month, it's 10 kilowatts a month by doing nothing. Now we have a very high cost of electricity. If I multiply this by the price of kilowatt, it's about €2.20. So yeah, I mean, it's not a lot when you're connected to the grid. But imagine from a different perspective. What if you were going to buy a washing machine and you see the price tag and it says €300 for the washing machine plus a €2 monthly subscription? Would you buy this machine? I'm paying €300 and I have to pay €2 just to have it plugged in? It's crazy. So from an off-grid perspective, this is absolutely a no-go. So when I started looking at this, we were very clear that we need to get these sockets, which are not very common here. I think in the States they are quite common. Sockets which have a switch right next to the socket so we can turn on and off immediately. So I found two of these machines, the kitchen robot, the washing machine, the television. Actually, my television is quite small. It's not a smart TV, so the phantom load is negligible. The watt meter cannot even read it, even when it's in the idle status. It cannot even read it because it's so low. So basically, we've been doing this and trying to find the best size for our system because we're moving away from gas. We have sold our stove. Even before leaving the apartment, we sold our stove and oven for heads, and we have replaced it by a portable induction cooktop with 2 heads. And so far, I've been absolutely amazed with this induction cooktop. It's so fast, it's so practical, it's so easy to clean. And the consumption is really, well, it's high, of course. And when you are in off-grid and you're trying to save electrical power, maybe switching from gas to electric doesn't make much sense, but actually does, because electric, yeah, it pulls a lot, but induction, although it pulls a lot, that energy is almost 100% utilized for the cooking. So the energy that heat is utilized for the cooking. It's very efficient. When you compare to the old electrical stoves, it's way off because they use a lot of energy to heat up the electrical plate itself, and then that heat is transferred to another pot and then it's transferred to the food. So there's a lot of waste, and gas wastes a lot of energy as well. So what we've realized, and I've been measuring with my watt meter daily, what we've realized is that this induction, even it pulls a lot of power, it actually is very efficient and we can cook in less time. I can tell you I did a dish in a wok. For 20 minutes, it took me 200 watts. A soup, 25 minutes, 290 watts. my estimates for 24-hour period in the summer are around 900 watts, because we also have a lot of raw food, salads. In winter, my estimates goes to about 1300 watts a day. This is an estimate, of course. Now we can optimize this because, for example, today we did our first test with a pressure cooker, which I have it for like 10 years and been sitting down and never use it. And then it's like, yeah, we should use this because we can cook brown rice instead of taking like 1 hour with triple the water to wait for it to cook. It just took me 10 minutes cooking, 10 minutes with no power, just let it sit down, 20 minutes it's done. And this, 20 minutes in this induction, 10 minutes actually, maybe 15 minutes, yeah, about 15 minutes. This costs like, I don't know, 100 watts, 200 watts. So actually, when you add things up, it is a very cost-saving solution for cooking. So we are going with this induction, and it's portable, which means when you go camping, you can take it with you. If you have electrical power, you can always use, and no need to get these gas bottles for camping, which are absurdly expensive, right? So the next one, which we're trying to solve, is how to heat water for our showers. This is my main concern right now. We have been considering solar panels, obviously, but we have been told, and I've been researching a lot, that maybe it's more efficient to invest that money in the solar electric system and then use an electric solution to heat up the water. Now, the usual electrical powered water tanks are very consuming. They take a lot of power, and that might not fit our scale. But now there are these so-called heat pumps, which use very little power, and they use a system similar to air conditioning. So they take the heat from the air, the outside air, and they transfer that heat to the water. So with just a residual power, they can heat up the water, of course slowly, but then if you need backup, you can plug in the resistance that's inside, which will heat up the water faster. So this is a very good solution. Of course, it's quite expensive as well, but we are still pondering which one will be best. Heat pumps also take a little bit more space inside, but it's a good solution. If you have any ideas, or if you have any experience in these and you also want to share, please let me know. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it. So just to give you a quick breakdown of right now what's and I'm going to type it so you can see it also. Our fridge, my estimate is about 1300 watts per 24-hour period. Now this is summer, which means its consumption is a little bit higher than in winter, which will have a lower setting. In winter, I estimate maybe about 1000 watts, maybe 900 watts. Cell phone charges and tablet charges and all that, very little power, like 40 watts a day. Our washing machine, our dishwasher, about 650 watts per cycle, means once a day. We don't use more than once a day. The washing machine, 200 watts, as I told you, with no phantom loads. Actually, do you realize the phantom load of this washing machine was 360 watts, and the washing cycle is 200 watts. So even if you don't do a washing cycle, you are spending more power than if you did a washing cycle. It's crazy. For lights, we calculated about 200 watts a day, and this is maybe too much, but everything LED, of course. Then we have the water pump, which is rated at 1100 watts per watt hour. I think we'll need maybe 200 watts a day to fill up the deposit, which is a 1000 liter tank, and actually the deposit 600 watts, and then 200 watts for house consumption. So worst case scenario, 800 watts, but I think 200 watts is the average for our daily consumption. Bread machine, 255 watts, not used daily. And then the induction estimates, as I told you, about 970 watts or 1000 watts, 1100 watts, depending on how much cooking we're doing. So when we add all these things together, so 4145 watts per day. Okay, the system we're going to buy, if I don't change my mind again, I think right now it's quite settled, is 6 panels rated 320 watts, which means 1920 watts day of power. Sorry, not day, hour. We use an average of, here we use an average of 5 hours of sun per day, which means 9,600 watts per day of power, which means it covers, and yeah, it's more than the double of what we need daily, right? Now, the only thing missing here is the water heater, which will add to this maybe, I don't know, maybe 2000 watts more. Still, even if it's 2300 watts more, let's say 7000 watts a day of consumption, ideally we should be covering 9600 in sunny days, and that's the problem. Okay, we always have to plan for non-sunny days. So the battery bank, which we're getting, will have 260 amp hours times 48 volts, which means 12,480 watts of power in this battery bank, which is too tight. So my latest plan was to double this, get 8 batteries instead of 4, so we have exactly the double, 24,960 watts, so 25 kilowatts of power storage. Now these batteries are terrible, to be honest. The life cycle curve, according to the depth of discharge, is absolutely terrible. And that's why I want to double it, because if I double, the depth of discharge of each battery will be much less, will be cut in half. And so I can make them last longer. I'm getting these batteries because they're really cheap, and I think they will do fine, at least for maybe 4 years, which is not a lot, I know. But ideally, in the beginning, I was thinking about the lithium batteries because they have a really high depth of discharge. But the price is still very high, and I'm pretty much sure that in about 4 years, maybe even less, there will be more technological developments in the battery field. And by the time I need to replace these, there will be better batteries for lower prices. So I think for now, and because we're still in this phase of experimenting and seeing how things work, I think for now this will be a good enough solution to move forward. Again, if you have any experience, if you think I'm doing some big mistake, let me know. But for now, this is more or less the plan. We just need to find out, of course, if you get the solar panel for water heating, we'll save a lot on power, except in winter, which will always need a backup heater. I don't know if the heat pump will be enough to get the water to a good enough level. If we go to another option, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I wanted to share with you today. I think it's interesting. If you don't have a watt meter at home, get a watt meter, and just do, just profile your whole house about how much you're spending. It's so interesting to see how many wasteful machines and small appliances we have. For instance, one thing I didn't mention, my wife's laptop is quite old. It's quite good, but it's quite old. It's maybe 8 years old. And the charger of this laptop is absolutely crazy. The charger is always consuming 20 watts. Even if the laptop is charged, even if the laptop is not connected to the charger is always consuming 20 watts. Now, due to practical reasons, the charger is always on. So even if the computer is not connected, the charger is always consuming 20 watts an hour. Again, if I pick up the 15 from the washing machine, 15 from the kitchen robot, 20 from the laptop charger, 50 watts an hour, 1,200 watts a day. That's 1 kilowatt a day on things that are not being used. Get kilowatt. Sorry, a watt meter. Kilowatt is one of the brands. Actually, it's not the one I use because they don't sell them here. Kilowatt is the famous one. You can find them online for sure. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll keep you posted with more developments soon. Bye bye.